Well, welcome to another Cutting Edge show. I'm Omar Neal, the former mayor of Tuskegee, Alabama, and the host of the You Got the Power show, and one of the moderators of this great show we call the Cutting Edge. It is all things health and wellness, COVID-19 and beyond. We take you into the barbershops and to the hair salons, and we have conversations, real conversations, authentic conversations concerning issues of health and wellness. Well, we got a really wonderful lineup today. We're going to be talking about colorectal cancer, what, when, and how. We have Dr. Marie Borum, who is a director of the Division of Gastroenterology at George Washington Medical Center, as well as Dr. C.S. Cutter, who is a surgical oncologist, health and wellness advocate, and an inspired speaker. And last but certainly not least, we have Dr. Randall Maxey, who is the Chief Medical Officer, Advanced Community Medical Care Corporation. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great program together. You want to make sure that you call your friends, your neighbors, your cousins, and all of them, and tell them they need to tune into this show, because this show impacts so many people around the country, and particularly communities of color. So we got this thing we call the Cutting Edge. Now, you see me up front moderating, but I don't do this by myself. I have a sidekick, a brother from another mother, Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. We call him Dr. T amongst these parts. He's a professor at the University of Maryland School of Public Health and director of the Maryland Center for Health Equity. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my friend, my brother, the other moderator, Dr. Stephen B. Thomas. Hey, Dr. T, how you doing, brother?
Oh, Mayor, it's always good to be where you are. And, you know, it's springtime, weather's getting better, and, you know, people's attitudes start getting better. I actually took a walk today.
Spring has sprung.
It has sprung. and I'm saying that because there's the heaviness that's still out here.
Mm-hmm.
All you got to do is look at the newspaper.
Right.
Hearts go out to all those in Memphis,
Nashville.
Yeah. And we need to find where we have shops in Nashville and bring them into the network. Right. And I'm just reminded of something that at the height of the pandemic, that one of the barbers said to me, "Hey, Dr. T, are they going to give us the jab and leave us with the cancer? Are they going to give us a jab and leave us with the diabetes?" And I promised them we would not abandon them.
Right.
And I think that's the message tonight, because right now we got to tell folks, this is it.
Right. Right.
They're dismantling infrastructure. And so the pandemic's still here. This is it. Right. Look in the mirror, because the change you're looking for is right here.
Right.
And and just one other thing.
Mm-hmm.
None of us are immune. The pandemic is still here. We do all we can to protect ourselves, right?
Right.
But I want you to know that Big Mike Osterholm got COVID after all this time. And I'm sharing that with you and the audience here because he's been on the show. And on his SIDRAP podcast, he announced that he had gotten COVID. And I would encourage all of our listening audiences to go to that episode and hear how he describes what he's going through. So let's give a shout out, get well to Big Mike Osterholm out there.
Let's snap him up, man, and say, get well, brother.
There you go.
He is really a part of our family, and we love Michael Osterholm. And so Dr. Michael Osterholm, you get well soon, man. And you take care of our friend. You make sure you take care of our friend. Yeah, right? You know, Dr. T, you know, we are not immune, none of us, but we can at least protect ourselves. And I'm so concerned that there are many people who did not get the booster shots, all of them.
That's right.
And we're about to get into a space where you won't be able to get it for free. And I don't know if we're in that space now.
Coming fast.
But we do know that when people could get it for free and they didn't, if it start costing, we know they won't.
There you
right?
go.
And so we recognize that you are better protected if you are fully vaccinated. And so
That's right.
let's encourage people to go out and get fully vaccinated so that they, and it doesn't mean that you won't get COVID,
That's
but
right.
it does give you a better chance of surviving COVID.
That's right.
That's really important as well.
Now, one other thing, and that is the mask proper respiratory protection works. We're talking
Right.
KN95 masks. And so people should have those available
Right.
and use your COVID calculus to determine when you put it on. I was in a room with 100 people. And so you make decisions.
Right.
But our shops should be places where you can get those masks when you need them and keep rapid tests available. That's the
Right.
world we're in right now. We're going to have to do this, and our barbershops and salons can be those trusted information centers where you can get what you need to stay
Yeah.
safe.
Yeah. Well, we are going to keep reminding you to take care of yourself because you owe it to yourself, right?
Mm.
And so that's cool. Now, people see you and I, we jabbing and,
Bouncing to the music.
smacking my lips. And but we don't do this by ourselves. We got a team behind the scene.
Mm.
That team is headed up by Meg Jordan. She's our technical director. Maggie Daly, assistant technical director. Saraya Khan, social media coordinator. And then we have Elijah Pugh Jr., the sound designer. Now, you all saw me kind of, because that music gets you going, man. That music gets you. It has that beat that forces your head to move.
There you go.
Right. So that's what's happening. So we're excited about the people we have behind the scene. Now we need for you to follow us and hang out with us. And this is how you can do it. Go to Facebook, or you can go to YouTube or Instagram or Twitter. You can like, share, and subscribe to our pages. We do this every other week unless we have some alteration in our schedule, and we keep you posted on that. And let me tell you how we keep you posted on that. You go to our newsletter each and every week. We put a newsletter out.
There you go.
And it gives you the previous show, so you always have the show that we did previously, and it also takes out some vignettes of really wonderful things that our guests share, and we put in little snippets, and that's in the newsletter. And it's also very informative because it focuses on medical issues primarily that affect us, that affects you, and things that you need to be aware of. And so Maggie Daly puts that out, and I wanted to get a shout out to Maggie Daly because she does an excellent job in putting that newsletter together. So snaps for Maggie Daly for her work, and as always, all of our team behind the scene do a wonderful job. Well, Dr. T, you ready to rock and roll?
Well, you better buckle your seatbelt here. We're talking about colorectal cancer screening. Right. And what's interesting about it is that's how the whole hair program in Maryland began. It began with support from the Cigna Foundation around the very issue of colorectal cancer and the disproportionate impact it has in the Black community. And Mary, what's so interesting?
Mm-hmm.
If you get early screening, it could save your life.
Absolutely.
And the barbershop could not be a better place to talk about it, right?
Absolutely. I was always told an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. so and early is better always, right? So I'm going to, I normally introduce people and lay all of that out, but I know you're really excited about this show, because you have an opportunity to introduce someone to you to whom you admire tremendously. So let's just bring up Dr. Marie Borum and I'm gonna let you wax eloquently and just introduce her.
Well, what's so interesting about Dr. Marie Borum is that she's my neighbor. She's right here in the DMV area, and I'm here in Prince George's County. And here we are meeting in cyberspace. I was watching the Black Health Trust, and Dr. Borum was giving a lecture on colorectal cancer. And I was just mesmerized and recognized that in our communities, we need to bring the experts to them.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Their issues and concerns are that great. So it's not bringing someone in that's talking about gastroenterology. We're bringing the gastroenterologist in.
Right. Absolutely.
And so as you can see here, Dr. Borum is not playing. In addition to her medical degree, she's also a public health person. Okay? And I just want the audience to recognize this. This is just to recognize what it takes to be where she is. She has an EDD, educational doctorate. She knows about education, about learning, about helping people take charge of their own behavior. And so as you can see here, she's the director of the Division of Gastroenterology and Liver Disease and a professor at the George Washington University School of Medicine and Health Sciences. You can see her other academic degrees and backgrounds, read that. But for me, it was her primary research interests, including physician decision-making, women's health, health disparities, and inflammatory bowel disease. I just can't wait for our audience to hear and meet Dr. Marie Borum. Welcome to the cutting edge, Dr. Borum.
Hey, Dr. Borum, let's snap her up, man. Let's bring her in right, you know?
That's how we bring you to the stage.
Absolutely. Hey, Dr. Borum, how you doing?
I am okay. I want to thank you guys for letting me come and hang out with you this evening. I think that, yeah, I mean, this is just so important, a topic that we just can't leave it alone. All month, this past month has been colorectal cancer screening or colorectal cancer awareness. And I've been out and about in the community, in the churches, at schools, on corners, talking about colon cancer screening. Because colon cancer can kill, and it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. This is one of the most common cancers in the world. It is one of the most common cancers in the United States, and we are at risk for it. And when we think about people who are at risk, we know that African Americans, communities of color, are at higher risk than any other population in the United States. And we can mitigate that. We can make sure that we don't get it, but what we have to do is that we have to get screened. So I thank you for talking about this.
You know, Dr. Borum,
go ahead, Dr. T.
Just real quick, as you were out on the street corners, in the churches, in the schools, what were you hearing? What popped for you in how people responded to your message?
I think one of the things that is scary for all of us is that people hear about that colonoscopy and it sounds overwhelming and it sounds like something we don't want to do. We have to prepare for it. We have to go get this test. We have to get someone to drive us home. And it sounds scary and it sounds like a lot, but it's not. Colonoscopies are something that we all should do. But what I want to tell people, what I want to remind people is that if you cannot get a colonoscopy for some reason, there are other screening tests that you can do. And the best screening test is the one that gets done.
Wow.
That's a tagline there. That's a t-shirt.
Like that. I mean, I love it.
That's a barbershop t-shirt.
Now, Dr. Borum, I want you to help me out now, because I want you to think about me as a third grader. Now, Dr. T, don't you say a word, all right? Because he's got jokes, you know. So, but I want you to tell me what a gastroenterologist is. And in a third grade, where a third grader would understand this, because, you know, it's a big old word, you know, and I just want to break it down where the cows can get it.
A gastroenterologist is a doctor that specializes in the stomach and the intestines. We also have other areas of interest, the liver, the pancreas, the gallbladder, but it's the stomach and the intestines that we're focusing on tonight.
Okay. All right. So that's as simple as you can get it. So my stomach and my intestines. So let's talk a little bit about you know, cancer. You know, how does this come about? I mean, because people that word is so scary, Dr. Borum. It you know, when people say cancer, they say that's got to be a life sentence and that kind of thing. But tell us how does cancer come about, and what is cancer as well as it relates to uh your colon and that kind of thing.
Cancer, the majority of colon cancer comes from what we call polyps. And polyps are small growths in the large intestine. Now remember, we have the esophagus, we have the stomach, we have the small intestine, and we have the large intestine. The large intestine is also called the colon. And small growths or polyps, if they stay in too long or they get too big, can undergo cancerous change.
Hmm.
And when that undergoes change, when they become cancer, that tissue grows out of control and it can spread. So what we want to do when we talk about screening is to find those polyps that are not yet cancer.
Wow.
Those small growths that have not become cancer. Because when we find them and we take them out, they can't become cancer.
Right.
So we want to get those small growths. We want to get them before they're cancer, or we want to find that cancer early. The problem is that we don't feel them. You can't feel them. Cancer doesn't hurt in the colon until it spreads or until
wow.
it blocks.
Oh, wow. Wow. So it's asymptomatic in that regard.
Until it gets big and it causes obstruction or causes bleeding or spreads into other areas. So you want to catch it when it's small or before it actually turns into cancer. And you can take it out.
No, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Continue. No,
you
continue.
can take it out without surgery. That's what the colonoscopy does.
So
it looks for those polyps and it takes them out.
So I'm going to now slow it down just a little bit more, because that's the cure part, family. A screening, we get screening like blood pressure, but you can't cure hypertension that way. That's a screening. A colonoscopy is a screening. Did I hear you right, Dr. Borum? That colonoscopy, if they actually see one of those polyps, whatever size it is, and you can snip it out, that takes away what could have developed into cancer. Did I hear that right?
That is absolutely right.
Wow.
That's why people want to do those, because this is one of the tests that we can do to catch pre-cancer.
Right.
Find pre-cancer lesions.
Wow.
So that's why we like the colonoscopy. The stool tests that people talk about, those non-invasive stool tests,
yes,
what they do, they can give us a hint that there is bleeding or that there is a growth. Once you get a stool test that is positive, then you go to a colonoscopy. But the stool test is something you can do at home.
Okay.
And if the stool test is negative, then you don't need to do another stool test. Depends upon the type of stool test. Some stool tests you do in a year. Some stool tests you do in 3 years. But you don't have to do another stool test until that 1 or 3 year mark. And this is for people who have no risk for cancer. So we also have to talk about risk. So yes, the stool test will check for whether there is an early cancer, whether there is bleeding. The colonoscopy can find the polyps, and the colonoscopy can also take them out.
Wow.
You know, you were talking about risk, and I assume that people are at different risks based on age and family history and other things like that. So tell us what are the risk factors? I mean, when should I have my first colonoscopy?
Right. Right. It
Get
used
ready.
to be, yeah, it used to be age 50. It is now age 45. You get your first screening at age 45, assuming you have no other reason to get it early. But age 45 is the year you want, to start getting it. And so that is critical because that's the year to start. And it's particularly critical for us because we know that communities of color, and let's talk about Black communities, we have the highest risk for colon cancer. We have the highest risk from dying from colon cancer. We have the highest risk of getting colon cancer early. So we absolutely need to start at age 45.
You know, Dr. Bourne, you're reminding me of, number one, how time flies. Because when we launched the HAIR Network, the Health Advocates in Reach and Research, back in 2014, the guidelines said age 50. But there was a group of gastroenterologists who said for African Americans, it should be age 45. Okay?
That's right.
And
because
so
we get it early.
That's right. But the national guidelines said 50. So here we are raising awareness in the barbershops and getting them to go to their primary care doctors. And then they get pushback. Oh, you're not 50 yet. And we had to actually fight. Wow. And so I think that when we can also share with our audience here about being an advocate for your own health, how do you talk to a doctor? How do you make sure that you are up to speed on what you need to know when you go into that encounter? I think that's important today as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, Dr. T, you know, we have some other people that's going to join us. We could sit here all evening and the rest of tomorrow talking to Dr. Borum, but we're going to bring some other people on to join in the conversation. Let's bring up our next guest. This is someone that we talked to just briefly, but she has such an energizing spirit. C.S. Cutter, Dr. C.S. Cutter.
That's a movie.
Man, I love her name. I just love the way, you know, she's got that it factor, Dr. T. You know, surgical oncologist, health and wellness advocate, inspired speaker, right?
There you go.
That's what you call a motivational speaker, right?
Mm-hmm.
She inspires. You know, inspiration is merely to give life, right?
That's right.
So when you inspire, you breathe life into. When you expire, that means life leaves. Now look at it. She's just giving life. Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in welcoming our next guest, Dr. C.S. Cutter. Hey, Dr. Cutter, how you doing?
Come on, let's snap her up. Let's snap her up.
Absolutely, let's snap her up.
Let's snap you all up at the same time. Hey,
how you doing? Thank you so much for joining with us. I mean, this is so important. Dr. Borum has really laid the foundation for why we should be screened and what colon cancer is and what a colonoscopy is and why we should have one and how with getting the proper prevention early, then we can literally save lives. And so she has laid the foundation for what for you and for our next guest as well. So tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, you know, I'm happy to do that. So I'm delighted to be here, and I'm going to tell you all, I'm actually on a theater stage at UCLA's campus. I'm on a panel today for Doctors Day for an organization called Shared Harvest that started off over at Morehouse this morning, went to New England in the afternoon, and then is out here to culminate in the evening. So it's a very exciting day, lots of power. And actually the topic is talking about white coat trauma. So that's another topic for you at another time.
Right.
But let me tell you a little bit about me. So my background, I'm from Cincinnati. I think some people know that. And
We got some Cincinnati people on there. I see Michelle Lamb.
love Cincinnati.
She said that, yes, I mean, she's just smiling from year to year. I mean, from year to year.
But I'm going to tell you, as soon as I could, I left the state and went to Chicago to work professionally in corporate America. And then I decided, hey, why not go to medical school? Because I had some things that I wanted to do. So I left corporate America as an account executive in technology, went to medical school, and decided to become a surgical oncologist to operate on cancer patients. And I love what I do. I'm out in California and Los Angeles, and it's a wonderful career. And along the way, you know, everybody out here is so green and healthy and everything. And all of a sudden, I realized what a risk factor obesity is for malignancy.
Right.
It is replacing tobacco as the #1 risk factor for cancer. And because of that, I delved into obesity and health and wellness. And so here I am.
Wow. What a story. I mean, Dr. T, the person get a degree in engineering and then say, okay, I don't want to do that no more. Then go get a medical degree. Now, that's what you call balling and shot calling.
And that's what you call the kind of talent that we need to bring right to the barbershop.
Man, can you imagine that? Community. Man. Oh man, I'm just so proud of you.
Thank you, Mary.
Yeah.
So Dr. Cutter, let me just ask
Go ahead.
This as I looked at your introduction, and that is the time you spent with the National Medical Association, the Student National Medical Association. Say something about that pipeline and what it looks like to you and how this infrastructure that we're building can actually be part of the training of that next generation of physicians.
Wow, that's an excellent question. And I haven't really been asked about this for probably a good 10 years, but I think you're very insightful for touching on this. You know, what I learned in corporate America is that if you want to change something, it really helps to get on the inside. You know, what happens is some people, they get on the inside of things and then they don't carry through the changes that they would like to make, right? They forget. And so understanding that, I decided to join some organizations while I was in medical school. One of them was SNMA, the Student National Medical Association, where I became the Associate Regional Director for the SNMA in that region. And then when I finished, you know, went on to, now I'm president of the local affiliate of the NMA. But what I learned with the SNMA is that A, you can be a leader. Okay, B, you can help other people and you can groom other people, but C, you can learn so much from your colleagues and your fellow physicians. And it's just important to have a place to go where there's people that look like you and people that are rooting for you and supporting you and trying to make things happen, not only in their lives, but also in your life. I had some phenomenal experiences, NIH and research and this, that, and the other. It was just fantastic.
Wow. You know, that's so important. And we talk about, you know, trust and when people can look like you, you know, that they have a level of empathy for your life lived experiences.
Yes.
Right. Then we are more apt to believe them and to gravitate to them so that we can take care of ourselves. And so that's so important. I'm so inspired by your presence, both of you. I want you to know that and to have this conversation, because this is a conversation. This is not a monologue. This is a dialogue. And so we're not in Dr. T's class where he's got a chalkboard and all. We are going to have a conversation about this.
You see how the mayor does me?
Yeah, I know.
I got the bar proposal.
But you have to know I love you, though. You know, it's all out of love. You know.
Part of it is, as I'm listening here, is the recognition of how important it is that we bring the talent that we have right here. Here's the silver lining of the pandemic, because our folk now have gotten comfortable in these spaces, and we can bring them the talent that we have right here. This is amazing, and we want to build on this, Dr. C.S. Cutter and Dr. Boren, because our communities in the shops and the salons can amplify the messages that we need so they can take charge of their own health. And you're going to meet some of them later here in the show. We even have
some barbers and stylists and all of that. And you know, and they also have a lot of questions, because obviously they're talking to people, and
That's right.
The barbers and stylists spend more time with their clients than you spend with your patients.
That is so true. And,
Right.
I think it's ingenious to go into this community of professionals and really leverage that for healthcare. So many people have a lot of fear around healthcare. And so to have these individuals that they trust, that they spend all of this time with, really talk about healthcare issues, very powerful. So thank you to the barbers and the stylists out there. You all are making a difference.
Absolutely. Dr. T, well, we got another brother from another mother, like we got these two sisters from another mister. So you got a brother from another mother, you got a sister from another mister. Man, we got a family going on
there
up in here,
go.
man. Man, let's bring Dr. Randall Maxey on. He's the Chief Medical Officer, Advanced Community Medical Care Corporation. Now, you introduced me to Dr.
That's
Maxey.
right.
So I'm going to give you, this is going to be the Dr. T introduction show. So I'm going to give you the honor of introducing this bad dude called Dr. Randall Maxey. Go ahead, Dr. T.
Well, it's all about the power of disruption. The pandemic disrupted our lives, but it also brought us together in ways that were quite innovative. And it's in that context that I met Dr. Randall Maxey. We've never met in person. And yet over the phone and these Zoom calls, I've gotten to know that he is one of the pillars of our African-American Medical Professional Society. He's the godfather. Mm-hmm. And he picked up the phone and called some people and said, we need to do XYZ. And it has turned into the Black Health Trust. Every Sunday, 4:00 Eastern time, he brings on the best and the brightest in the country to share their knowledge with us. And I realized, Mayor, that with Dr. Maxey, we have a one-stop to all the medical and scientific information we need to bring through the cutting edge. As you can see, Dr. Maxey is an MD and a PhD in internal medicine out in Inglewood, California. We got some Californians here tonight.
Yeah, I see.
But he spent some time in
sunny California. Yeah.
And at Howard, so he knows the DMV as well. But the key here is that he founded the Black Health Trust. We have a founder here to best serve communities of color by providing credible, up-to-date information regarding the physical and mental health and well-being during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. Look, hey, Mayor, he resonates with us, the pandemic and beyond. He's one of the innovations still standing. He's now here with us. Help me welcome Dr. Randall Maxey to the stage. Hey, Dr. Maxey.
Hey, Dr. Maxey, how you doing, man? Let's give him some snaps up.
There you go.
I'm doing great. Ask me first where I'm from.
Where are you from?
Cincinnati, Ohio.
Oh, wow. We got another Cincinnati. You know what? We're not going to do it.
Crazy,
we're not going to be able to do anything with Michelle Lamb. I mean, we just don't. You need to go and get a lottery ticket because you just got a trifecta going on. In my parts of the hood, Dr. Maxey, we would call you a baller and a shot caller. Right. I mean, that's somebody who makes things happen. And then, we just know, and let me say this. When we were putting this show together and Dr. T called you and I was on the call with him, he said, we just need another person. He said, hold up, I'll wait till tomorrow, next week. Call somebody right then, Dr. Cutter, right? And say, let's do this thing. And Dr. Cutter immediately responded in the affirmative, and not just because of us, obviously, but because of her appreciation and respect for you. And so we thank you for what you do, both seen and unseen.
And you got the chief of gastroenterology at George Washington University, who's one of the baddest ladies you also met.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, this is a bad show. Is this a bad show? Is this a bad show, Dr. Maxey?
It's a bad show.
So
let's go ahead, Dr.
I just want to say, I want this to be our bridge, our inauguration, our commitment to the community. We're streaming live out here on the social media platforms. We will rebroadcast this. We will amplify this. We're saying to all those out there who can help, we're not leaving the wall. We've been at the hell no wall, chipping away at it. And it's working, Dr. C.S. Cutter. It's working, Dr. Maxey. It's working, Dr. Borum. And you're going to meet them tonight. And I say we make a commitment right now to stay on the wall and use these platforms to help our community take charge of their own health. Meet people like you.
Right.
Now, I got one more person that's here with me. Her name is Angela Moore. And
Come on, bring her. Let her come over. Let her come over and get on the. Hey, how you doing?
Hi, how are you? You guys are fantastic. I hear the activism. I hear the love of our people in all of your voices.
Wow.
Yes, I'm just sitting here in amazement.
Oh, absolutely. Well, thank you, and welcome to.
This is my godfather. So when you said godfather, I said, see, they recognize you.
Absolutely. So we got a great work to do, Dr. Maxey. The point of the matter is, what you don't know can hurt you. Not only can it hurt you, it can kill you.
Yes.
So information is power. And what we are committed to doing, and this is what Dr. T said, is to make sure people have the proper information, believing that when people get the proper information, they naturally gravitate to take care of themselves. And so you putting together your program, which is very similar to what we're doing, where you're bringing physicians and experts in the medical field to the table to talk about issues that impact the community in the medical space.
Yeah.
So we're proud of you, man. I just want to be able to say that to head up. Tell me what was the impetus of your putting your program together?
Well, initially we were in the middle of the pandemic, and
right.
We wanted to bring vetted, trusted messengers to the table with information. And we did that for the past 2.5 years. And once the pandemic started to wind down a little bit, we switched to not only bring pandemic information, but information on health disparities. And so we've continued the program. We still talk about COVID-19, but the reason so many of our people were vulnerable to that was we do have disparities of health. We have obesity, we have non-compliance, we have poor self-image and things that contribute to bad health. Mm-hmm. And we start talking about all those in a broader sense. So we've done this now for almost 3.5 years now.
That's
so Mayor, we were literally on parallel tracks. Okay, launch right around the same time. I know. Like I say, who's still standing? Who reached orbit? Who can stay out there? And Dr. Maxey, you've seen things come and go. Let's make sure that we leave something behind. No more crabs in the barrel. No, that model, that competition model, that competitive model we live in these academic institutions won't work. The mayor's criticizing me all the time about that. That's why we're in the barbershops. Let's make a commitment here that the Black Health Trust and the Cutting Edge will partner to bring this kind of information into our community, right down to the barbershops and salons. Wow. Can we make that commitment tonight, Dr. Maxey?
Commitment. I'm on board with that.
Let's do this. Dr. T, every show we try to get a pulse.
That's now, right.
I want Dr. Borum, I want Dr. Cutter and Dr. Maxey. I want you all to know. I want you all to participate in this. This is an active show. We don't have spectators. We have participators.
There you go.
You got it. So this is what we do. And I'm gonna let Dr. T tee it up. We're gonna do a word cloud. Dr. T, tee it up. Tell them how we do this thing.
Think of a word right now that best reflects how you're feeling at this moment in the pandemic, and type that word into the chat. Those of you out in social media land, you can use the Q&A box, and for the next 60 seconds, put in as many words as you can come up with. Don't worry about spelling. Just get those words in there. And we have a team behind the scenes that's going to build a cloud. The larger the word, the more people who said that word. And so you may be influenced by what you see, but whatever moves you, put that word in the chat and Q&A. And Mayor, you know, we've done this, and Dr. Maxey, this is an exercise we've done throughout the pandemic over the years. We have probably 200 plus word clouds. And Mayor, I'm convinced that if we were to track that with the ups and downs of the pandemic, it would give us a little idea about what it was like on the front lines.
Right, right. You're right, man. And, you know, again, you know, this collective, you know, because if you see what you are thinking and feeling, and you understand that other people are feeling and thinking the same thing, it doesn't make you feel like you're crazy or something wrong with you, right? Right? You see what I'm saying? And so it's important that we share each other, even when it comes to each other's pain. We have to figure out a way to be sympathetic to, if not empathetic, sympathetic. And if we can be empathetic, let's do that, because sympathy means I take on your pain, even though I've not experienced it.
That's right.
Right. And so when people are suffering, when people are, and when Dr. Borum says that, you know, we die from colorectal cancer more than anybody else.
Yes.
I mean, we need to stop, call a timeout, say, why is that happening?
That's right.
Right. And then what can we do collectively, right, to address the causes for colorectal cancer being so prevalent in our community? And that's the kind of conversation that I really want to have today. So as we talking, I got a question that straight from the barbers.
We can bring them up if we need to.
And they asked, you know, and Dr. Borum, I want you to answer this. What are the symptoms of colorectal cancer? That's the first thing they asked me. The symptoms. What are the symptoms? If these things are happening, take a close look at what's going on with you.
Most of the time, there are no symptoms.
Wow.
But there are some things that we have to think about, and that should get us to the doctor quicker, and the things that we should know. We should know that if there's blood in the stool, blood in your bowel movements, that you should talk to somebody. We should know that if you've had a change in the way you have your bowel movements, you should talk to somebody. We should know that if you have abdominal pain that you cannot explain, you should talk to somebody. If you have weight loss that you're not trying to lose, if you have unintentional weight loss, you should talk to somebody. So we should get screened because we're of age. But if you have symptoms, those other symptoms, blood in your stool, change in your bowel habits, constipation, abdominal pain, unintentional weight loss, then you should talk to somebody.
You know, Mayor, I'm realizing that when our folks maybe have that first talk, it may be in a chair with these poles behind it. You know what I mean? And Dr. C.S. Cutter, I'm wondering if you think that the barbers and stylists could play a role in that front line when people may share some of these symptoms to help them make decisions. You think we can get them prepared for that?
I do. You know, I think one of the most important things that the barber stylist could do is listen. You know, first just listen, hear them out, and hear what's going on. Because sometimes, you know, people haven't admitted something to themselves. But when they get in that chair, you know, it's like a confessional, right? You know, they just start talking about everything. And so, you know, just listening, letting them get it out. And then, you know, a good follow-up question is, have you talked to anybody about this? And encouraging them to, hey, you know, talk to somebody about it and give them a time frame. You know, because a lot of times people, you know, say, oh, well, I'm going to make an appointment or what have you. 6 months later, nothing's happened, right? But, you know, just say, hey, before you come here again, I want you to talk to somebody about it, make an appointment. And then, you know, if you want to, let me know how it goes. I think that's one of the most important things they can do. And, you know, I want to just say, can I say a little something about symptoms?
Please.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You know, I really feel like something happened during the pandemic with the COVID-19 virus. I mean, we had people who were impacted, right? They developed the symptoms and recovered, and then, you know, some didn't. But I think that the virus got inside of some of the DNA of some patients because we're seeing things with cancer that has only previously been described. I've had so many young people, people with odd symptoms, people with widely metastatic disease that we haven't seen in a long time. It is amazing to me. I mean, I feel like I'm living a textbook. And what I've seen, I've had a rash of about, I don't know, in the past, maybe 4 or 5 months, I've had a rash of several perforated colon cancers. And what was happening with these colon cancers is, you know, it was what Dr. Bourne was talking about. Stool was changing. This was happening. One day they developed abdominal pain. They go into the emergency department. It looks like an abscess. A drain is placed in there. They get discharged. But then over the ensuing 2-3 months, they continue to have symptoms and problems. I had one woman who had a drain in so long, the tumor grew through the drain into the abdominal wall, formed a tumor about this big in the abdominal wall and the transverse colon and out the drain sites. So the specimen that I took out was really significant. So, you know, I think it's that fear of if I tell somebody about it, what's going to happen next. But I personally think a big tumor in your abdominal wall is a bit worse than maybe getting a colonoscopy. So I don't think that the barbers and stylists should be in a position to scare anybody, but I think really encouraging them and, you know, really helping them to understand, you know, what could happen if you don't get care.
You know, you've done that right tonight. That's so important in describing metastatic. Okay, and so that's how we do it, Dr. Bourne. We just break it right down.
What is metastatic? I knew you were about to say that. What's that? A new dance? Talk about metastatic. I was one of metastatic too. You know, I do the metastatic. Go ahead and break it down, Doctor.
You know what's interesting about that particular presentation? You know, a lot of people do view that as metastatic, but metastatic by definition is disease that is remote from the origin, right? This is a local extension. So we call this locally advanced. So she technically had a locally advanced tumor. It just grew into surrounding structures. And, you know, if you want to talk about staging, that's definitely a T4. You know, tumor it's a TNM system. T is for tumor, N is for nodes, lymph nodes, M is for metastasis. So she definitely had a T4, which is the maximum because it grew outside of the boundaries of the transverse colon and into surrounding tissue. So that is a locally advanced tumor.
You know what makes me so excited, Mayor? I know we got to move on, but but what you said that the barbers and stylists could do, listen.
Yes.
And then the first thing you said was, ask them, have they talked to someone? I love that. Okay, not trying to explain all the details, but have you talked to someone? And I want you to know that in our network, in our hair network, our wellness warriors, we're hoping they're going to be able to talk to Dr. Bourne.
Well, let's do that. Let's bring Mike.
Let's bring into the shops.
let's bring Michael Brown. We can bring him right up. Let's bring Mike Brown up. That we call him Dynamite.
Hey everybody.
Hey, what's happening, baby?
How you doing, man? Neil?
Everything cool?
You know, this whole topic tonight is like, it's like real touching for me. The when describing the symptoms, my father directly died from colorectal cancer. He had like 9 operations. The colon, the polyps kept coming back and they were malignant every time. So they would just cut a piece of his colon and reconnect. It was 9 times until it was no colon left. And when it came back, it metastasized on his pancreas. And that's when it took him out. So just hearing Dr. Bourne describe the symptoms, I'm talking about every one that she said.
Okay, we're here with you, man. That's okay. Take your time. We're here with you.
Everyone she said, you know, my father raised me. It was just me and him. He was like, he said, man, I'm losing weight again. And he did his pants and he showed me the slack in his pants. And he was getting blood in his stool. And everything that she said, it was like reliving that experience. So I'm sorry, it just took me back to that. But this is a touching topic for me. Everything that you guys said was exactly what he said to me when he was going through. It just took me back to that moment. I'm sorry. I definitely want to take a swing back at this because my father, he raised me. I'm gonna try to advocate and tell the people the best that I can. It directly affected me from my father. It took my father. He raised me. It was just me and my dad. And to watch it do that to him, you know, I'm passionate about this. I'm definitely thankful to be on this platform to advocate the information that you guys are giving. I'm all ears. If I could just give somebody information to save one, I've done my job. I thank you.
Tell them who you are, Mike. Tell them where you are.
Mike Brown. I'm in DMV area. I'm actually in Maryland, Waldorf, Maryland. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., came up in PG County. I'm the manager of the Shop Spa. I've been with the Hair Network since 2010. When Dr. T came into me, actually, the first time I met him, he was talking about colorectal cancer. And it's funny that we're back on the topic again. And when I had no idea that it would evolve to this platform, but when he first came to me, he said, you share a position in the community. It's your trust with your patients, with your clients. And I was like, wow. Then he said the colorectal. I was like, oh yeah, cancer? Oh yeah, let me get at you. And I've been on ever since with Dr. T, and we're here now, and it's just been a journey. It's been a pleasant journey, but this was just emotional for me tonight. Thank you guys for your information and all that you're doing.
You know, we love you, Mike.
And indeed, and he represents the fact that families are involved, and that's what we can deal with in the shops, with the families, the caregivers, and keep that sacred space. So you should know that Mike Brown was the first barber. The whole program that we've grown began with Mike. When he left one shop, I followed him to the next.
Yeah.
And here we are at Shop Spa.
Absolutely.
So what a journey. What a journey.
Yeah. Let's see what this cloud says. What do you think about? Let's read the clouds.
There we go.
All right. And,
oh my goodness. Look at this.
Look at there. Now, the word that is the most prominent, the largest word, is the one that most people said. And if you look at it, Dr. Cutter, motivated.
Look at that.
Right? Look at there. Blessed, loved, right? Respect for nature. I mean, cleansing, excited, collaboration, honor, unified, informed,
fascinated,
community. Community is two words. That's common unity.
There you go.
Right? Fortunate, enthusiastic, charged, fascinated, uncertain, inspired, optimistic, and a little nervous. But that is an honest assessment of where people are. But as we look at it collectively, we are motivated. And so this is a wonderful space to be in. Thank you so much for putting that up for us. The key to this is we have to give people information, and we have to make sure that they take ownership of their own health.
That's right.
Right. And I think oftentimes people don't think of things. They feel certain things. Their body tells them things, and they ignore their body. They say, well, it's not what I think it may be, or it's not that. And so that we override those messengers that our bodies are sending to us about things that may be going on with us. And so I'm of the opinion that trust your body, trust what your body is telling you. And as Dr. Borum, as Dr. Cutter has said, go see someone who can either affirm or disprove whatever you think it's going on. At least go see someone. And that's what this is about. Because if you go see someone, and if you can do the proper prevention and the proper assessments early enough,
that's right.
Then you don't have to have that fatal outcome. There are ways we can do this, And so I'm inspired by Mike. Mike Brown inspires me. He has an inspirational, just like you, Dr. Cutter. You are an inspirer. He's an inspirer too.
But Mayor, it was so important, and I want my sister physicians to know how important it is to have a space where Black men can express the full range of their emotion.
Absolutely.
And that the barbershop can be a place for that. You both had connected to mental, emotional health. What happens when you sit in that chair and just get it out? That's a form of healing too.
Right.
And so that's going to be a part of our strategy as well.
I want to go. I'm gonna go to Cincinnati.
You're going to go to Cincinnati.
I'm gonna go to Cincinnati. And Michelle Lamb, since y'all, Dr. Maxey and Dr. Cutter, both said they were connected to Cincinnati, and you see that smile. Okay, all right, we're in Cincinnati now. Okay, hey, Michelle Lamb, how you doing?
Snap her up. Let's snap her up. Go ahead, sister.
I am so inspired to be here tonight, especially with my hometown, Dr. Cutter and Dr. Maxey and Dr. Borum, you also, all the doctors. But this information is so vital. And what I've learned myself since being with the Wellness Warriors, to advocate for myself also, and teaching my clients to advocate for themselves with their health. So I just want to say I'm very inspired tonight. I'm not alone.
You are not alone, and we love you so much. Tell them a little bit about your place and what you do up there in Cincinnati.
I am the owner and operator of the Hairport Barber and Beauty Studio located in Cincinnati, in the Hardwell area. You guys may be familiar with that, but I cut hair and I do nails, and I've been in this industry for 33 years.
Good. Thanks, Michelle Lamb.
But before you let her go, what's a wellness warrior? Who's that?
We bring information to our community and our clients on their health care. And health disparities, and we do all that from behind our chair. And it's a wonderful thing. I'm so amazed that I was selected for this particular forum.
So you've been through training and everything to be a wellness warrior.
Yes, I've been through training and everything. I sure have.
Dr. T, that's product placement. Dr. T, man, come on.
I'm so proud of them. They have really stepped up, and I want you physicians to know you've got a partner on the front line. We have an extension of our delivery system that is culturally tailored to our community. If the pandemic's taught us anything, we have to take charge of our own health. And look at the talent we can bring to the table.
Absolutely. Good. Michelle Lamb, we love you so much. Thank you so much for joining
us. I love you guys too.
Good. Let's go to
Mike. We love you too.
Absolutely. Good. Let's go to Maryland and bring up Katrina Randolph. Katrina Randolph has been with us from the very beginning. She is an absolute delight to be around. Each and every time. We love her so much. Hey, how are you doing today? How are things going?
I'm like you. Thou art fine. Thou art fine. It's a pleasure to be on this platform tonight. Mike got me over here in my seat a little shook up, but it's okay. Yes, this is definitely a great topic. As Mike said, this is one of the first health disparities that we learned about, colorectal cancer. And we learned it at the simplest form where the cows can get it, as Mr. Omar Neal would always say.
Yeah.
But I'm always advocating for my clients to go get their colorectal screenings. But what I noticed, it's a touchy subject for our men, and especially our Black men. When you try to advocate and encourage them to go and get their colorectal screenings, they like, no, we're not going there. But I try to keep them encouraged. Definitely get your colorectal screenings at a young age, because if you catch it early, then you're on a safer side. So yes, this is definitely a great platform to be on, and this topic is great.
Now, I wanted Dr. Borum and Dr. Cutter to know that Katrina Randolph, her salon was the first salon that delivered a COVID-19 vaccine for kids age 12 and up, anywhere in the state of Maryland. Katrina, tell them who you are.
My name is Katrina Randolph. I'm from the Capitol Heights, Maryland area. I've been a part of this network for over 10 years now, and I love community engagement and love to advocate, making sure our people stay safe, live healthier and longer lives. So it's always a pleasure to be able to advocate to save a life. If I can save one, I can save a million. So I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
We love you so much.
Warrior spirit.
Likewise.
Warrior spirit.
Yes.
Absolutely. Good. We're gonna take a break. We do something here called the Public Health Minute, and we're gonna give our tech director and tech manager a minute to do this. Meg Jordan. Meg. People always ask Meg questions. You know, she's like E.F. Hutton. When Meg talks, everybody listens, right? And so, but the warriors, the wellness warriors, asked Meg to kind of explain things, and so Meg goes and research it, and she comes back and answer whatever their questions. So she got a question. And now we're giving her an opportunity in the Public Health Minute to answer it. Meg Jordan.
Take it away, Meg.
Good evening, everybody. So tonight we're going to start out by running the numbers. I know it's been a minute, but we just passed the 3-year anniversary of the beginning of COVID-19. So in those 3 years, we've lost 1.12 million people, and we've had 103 million cases of COVID. Just a reminder, the US has 330 million people. So 230 million people have gotten vaccinated. We're at about 70%, which is incredible. But we are only at 54 million people with their updated boosters, as Mary Neal was talking about earlier. Next, please, Maggie. So this is the greenest map I've ever shown you. There are only 27 counties in the US where every adult and every person should be putting their high quality respirator masks back on. There are 196 counties in the US where people who are at high risk for COVID should put their masks back on, and everybody in their bubble. Next, please, Maggie. Yeah, so the question today we're going to talk about is emerging diseases. So what are they, what to do, and when you should worry? Okay. So something I've been thinking and something I've been hearing a lot lately is it feels like we have all these new diseases recently, right? And why that is, why that's happening. So let's start here. Diseases are living things that change. So diseases have DNA just like people do. And every time a person gets sick, the DNA of that disease changes and the disease changes over time. So we see that with SARS, and we see that with lots of the flu, how there are new pandemics that happen just because changes naturally happen in disease. Unfortunately, we also get new diseases and diseases change because of medical advances, which seems counterintuitive, but the better cleaning chemicals we get, the more aggressive the bacteria and more aggressive illnesses can get, because whatever isn't killed by the disinfectant is what survives. Diseases can also be spread through medical technology when they're not sanitized properly. So needles that unfortunately have to get reused in areas that aren't able to afford disposable needles are a way that people get disease. We also are able to do organ transplants in a way we haven't been able to do. And so when you get organ transplants, you have to take immunosuppressants, and it makes you susceptible to different diseases. These are all changes in the world in the past really 100 years, right? Also thinking about people and how people have changed in the past 100 years even. Travel is cheaper and easier and faster than ever before. And there are more people than ever before, more cities than ever before, and the cities keep getting bigger and bigger. Our environment is also changing, right? So global climate change and deforestation are causing changes that we're interacting with the world a little bit differently. So we're going into jungles, and we're going into places where there are wild animals that we've never come in contact before, and they're being eaten, right? So that's like the wet markets, the wild animal markets, and people get diseases from wild animals. It happens. These are all places that new diseases can come from. Next, please. So when we hear about a new disease, where do you start with that? So the very first thing you should ask yourself is where. So where is the disease happening in the world? In what country is it happening? In what state is it happening? Where is it? And then thinking about where people are getting sick. So in COVID, right, it was everywhere. It was out in public, it was in home, it was in the hospitals, it was everywhere. That's where people were getting sick. There are some diseases where people only get sick in the hospital. There are some diseases that people don't really get sick at all, right? But we're thinking about a pandemic. Colorectal cancer, you just get sick because it's within your body, right? But we're talking about infectious disease right now. The next thing you should be asking yourself is who is getting sick and who is in danger? Is it babies? Is it people with suppressed immune systems? Is it older folks? Who is getting sick? And why are they in danger of getting sick? What makes them vulnerable and what makes the disease so dangerous for them? And then keeping in mind who has gotten sick, how many people have gotten sick, right? The next thing you think about is how. So how does a person get sick? Does it spread? And how do you protect yourself from getting sick? These are all the most important questions when a new disease happens, right? Next, please. So I want to talk to you about an emerging disease that's gotten a lot of attention recently. It's called Candida or Candida, depending on where you live. And the emerging disease is a type of Candida. It's called Candida auris, something like that. But Candida is actually just a bigger umbrella of fungus that grows in your body. And I hate to be the person that tells you this, but you have fungus in your body. Everybody does. I do. You do. Everybody does.
It's the same as the cooties.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Oh Lord.
Your body
There
is
he
a
goes
metropolitan city of bacteria and fungus and viruses, and it should be, and it is naturally, and that's a fine thing. You know, think about diaper rash. That can be something that's Candida, actually. If you've ever gotten like at the corner of your mouth, it's like a cut and it feels like it never heals, it could be Candida, right? So Candida itself is really common, but there's a new type of Candida that is harder to treat because typically Candida is only a problem if it's out of whack. If it's going out of control, maybe you were on antibiotics, maybe you were on antifungals, maybe you know, something happened in your body and the Candida got out of control. Well, this type of Candida is fairly new. It was first found in 2013, and it doesn't really respond to the medicines we would typically give you when you've got a fungal infection. Next, please, Maggie. So let's go through our essential questions. Where is it happening? It is happening in the US. It's happening in all these states that are highlighted in orange. 35 states have had cases in the past 10 years. Who is getting this? They are folks who have other medical problems. These are people who are in the hospital already. They are typically people who've been in the hospital a lot or for a long time. Candida is like a superbug, right? So it's like C. diff. If you've ever had a loved one get C. diff or something like that, it's something that you get because you're in the hospital, right? Or a nursing home. And I say only, but there have been 5,654 cases in the past 10 years, right? So thinking about your risk, right? This isn't a huge case number. Some of these states I looked around, there were 2 cases, 3 cases in different states. And how is it spread? Right, within the hospital. And the way we prevent that is by cleaning, by keeping the patients separate when we can, and by cleaning all the items that touch the patient, especially if it's something like an IV or something that's going to get put in a patient's body, right? Next, please. So when you're assessing your risk and when you're hearing about a new emergent disease, I think it can be really easy to post-COVID think, oh no, here we go again. I feel that way, but new diseases are really, unfortunately, common. They're really natural. And like I say, it's impacted by these global changes that have been happening really as long as there have been people. They're like a natural disaster. And why are we hearing about them? Well, because one, we are paying more attention, right, as a scientific community. We're getting better science all the time to identify new diseases. And we just went through a pandemic. And I think it's natural as a society to care more about emerging diseases because we realize what a threat they are to us and our society. So I just wanted to say, if you're hearing about these new superbugs, I hope this is a little bit letting you know you don't need to worry that much unless you're being in the hospital for long-term stays and things like that. So if you have any other questions about Candida, please let me know. And one plug. Next, please, Maggie. Dr. T, could you let everybody know about the upcoming webinar for our Wellness Warriors?
Well, we're so excited that the Wellness Warriors, and you're going to meet some more of them this evening, have organized their own webinar with a particular interest of bringing back the clinical partners who helped them get needles in arms during the height of the pandemic, and keeping those relationships intact and how they did it. So it's going to be on April 27th. It's from 7 to 8:30. Well, for everyone here, we'll send out information for you. And I want to give a real shout out to Meg and the team, who really let the barbers take the lead. They had to do the heavy lifting, not only just the wind
and the stylists,
and the stylists.
All right,
Be in trouble. I know they're coming up.
I saved you. Don't say I never saved you, right?
And I'm just glad that we have to do that, because think about it. We got brothers involved, and
right?
We're going to keep them involved. So
absolutely,
we'll send you this information to join the Wellness Warrior webinar and see them in action.
Yeah.
Thank you, Meg.
Thanks, Meg. This is Meg can put it where the cows can get it. That's what we say,
So it's like when people come in to the barbershop with all kind of stuff. Oh, I just saw this on CNN.
Right,
there's a new bug, and all of a sudden
right.
that dominates the conversation. This helps put it in perspective.
Right. I want to move into a space, because someone talked about, I don't know if it was Dr. Borum or Dr. Cutter or whatever, or even maybe Dr. Maxey, I don't know, but they were talking about men are less likely to get screened, and it may have something to do with the area by which screening and the colonoscopy takes place. I know you all have probably had this conversation amongst the medical community. Tell us about the psychology of the anus and men not wanting to have that, dealt with.
Okay, I'll take it. I think sometimes there's this discomfort because there's a implication maybe that there's some enjoyment or sensitivity or what have you, and it sometimes goes against the grain of some men. But I think men are reasonable, and when you really talk with them about it and about the risk, I think you can reach them. I know that I have, and I just kind of get frank with them, but very respectful, and then just talk to them in terms of what's important in their life. Most men have a significant other or some children or something that they would like to be around for. And screening, not just colorectal screening, but also prostate cancer screening, this is a pathway toward that. So if you don't take care of it, then you're not going to be around for that thing that's important to you. So this is your pathway towards having a little bit more longevity. Mm-hmm. And if I could just loop back to a point that someone made earlier, and it was about, going to talk to someone about a condition that you have or a complaint. I've had a bunch of patients come to me and say, oh, I talked to this doctor, they said I was fine. And so I went on. And, if you don't feel fine, don't stop going to different people until you get an answer, right? Because sometimes people miss things or they misunderstand you or what have you. I think your body. And if you don't know your body, this is a good time to get to know your body. And I'm serious because, when something's wrong, when you're here, right? When you're centered, when something's wrong. And when something's wrong and somebody says, you're fine, say, thank you very much. And go on to Dr. B and go to Dr. C and Dr. D until you find someone who's going to do the investigations that help to give you some answers.
Dr. Cutter, I'm sitting here laughing because our most recent show was on lupus. And
I saw that.
And so, one of the folks who had lupus, I said, well, when they finally told you what you had? And she says, I found out what I had. I was the one that did the research. And I think that empowering our community to take that kind of charge and then be able to have feedback from people like you and come on the show can really make a difference. So, Dr. Bourne, we're here in the DMV, and you and I are going to work together to make sure that folk need to get access to a colonoscopy. They can get that access, and we can remove all the barriers. And that's the other thing. When you finally get folk ready to take action, we got to be ready to remove the structural institutional barriers that might be in the way for them.
All right, let me get to another area, and then we're going to bring on some more wellness warriors. Okay. What about our diet?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Because, when you look at if something is, if you have a disparity somewhere, then it's probably something that people have in common. Right. And how much does diet contribute to colorectal cancer? Dr. Bohr, I'm gonna throw that ball to you.
I'll take it. I am here because I want to make sure that people understand that there are certain things that you can't do anything about. You can't do anything about getting older. And we know that colon cancer happens more frequently as we age. It starts earlier in some people. We have to start screening at 45, but it gets more common as we get older. You can't do anything about your gender. Turns out that males, people who are born males, have more risk of getting colon cancer than people who are born female. We know that there are certain races that have an increased risk for colon cancer. We know that African Americans have the highest rate of dying from colon cancer than any other race in the United States. You can't change the family that you're from. If someone in your family has colon cancer, you have an increased risk of colon cancer, particularly if that is a close relative. So there are things that we can't do anything about. There are certain conditions you may have, like inflammatory bowel disease, that increases, which is Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, you can't do anything about. But there are things that you can do something about. There are things that you can do that can decrease your risk. People who are obese, if you're heavier than you want to be, or that is recommended, then you have an increased risk for colon cancer. Just like Dr. Cutter said, it is very clear that obesity increases people's risk for many diseases, and colon cancer is on that list. We know that if you're inactive, if you don't exercise as frequently or as regularly as you want to, or as you could, or as is recommended, you have an increased risk for many things, including cancer. We know that if you smoke, long-term smokers have a higher risk of dying from colon cancer than non-smokers. If you have excess alcohol consumption, so the more you drink, the more you risk. Well, let's talk about that diet. High-fat diets that are high in red meat, processed meats, hot dogs, salami, cancers, and meats that are cooked in high heat, grilling, bacon, those kind of things can increase our risk. So what we have to say is do that in moderation. So we also know that high fiber vegetables and fruits actually decrease your risk for colon cancer.
Wow.
So when we talk about diet, we want to make sure that you have high fiber, high vegetables and fruits in your diet. You want to make sure you have enough vitamin D. You want to make sure you have enough vitamin C. You want to decrease and moderate your risk, your meat consumption. Decrease the frequency of those barbecues in the summer. Make sure that you don't eat as many hot dogs and as much bacon that you may want to, but those kinds of things can make a difference. So there are things you can do to protect yourself, and we should think about that.
Wow.
Dr. Borum, you've hurt a lot of people's feelings. I just, I know you didn't mean it, but you hurt a lot of people. Just say, "Oh Lord, why she say that?" Because once you know, then you I mean, so.
Hey, Dr. Borum, I'm in the shop, and they'll come up with some newfangled things. Hey, I could do the chicken in the air fryer and get the fat out. So one of the things we want to talk about is how you can have some of those foods that you want. It's more than just eating, this relationship, and do it in ways that are both tasteful and healthy. I think we could have a wellness warrior cookbook with your input. That could be one of the things that could help.
I'm on it. I'll do it.
Well, I'm gonna tell you one thing. You laid it out, Dr. Borum. I mean, the way that you did it, and talking about the things to which we have no control over.
Yes.
But what we can do is the things that we have control over. It is incumbent upon us to take heed to that. And so I appreciate the way that you did it and laid it out. Thank you so much, Dr. Borum. I just love you. I just both you and Dr. Cutter. I just give y'all a virtual hug. She
didn't take the grill. She didn't take the grill away. What did she say? In moderation.
Well, yeah, that's right. Everything is in moderation, right? Let's see if we can go. Where do we need to go? Let me see where we need to go. Let's go to Arkansas. Where we going?
Pine Bluffs.
Pine Bluffs, not nowhere else. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Dorothy Reynolds, how you doing?
I'm doing fine. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine.
You look good, Dorothy.
Absolutely good.
Thank you. I first want to say that I'm from Pine Bluff, Arkansas. And we own Impressive Styles Beauty and Barbershop. We've been open for 16 years. And I want to thank you all, Dr. T and Mayor Neal, for this great panel tonight. I almost missed it because I had another engagement, but I am so glad that I was able to be here tonight. And thank you, panelists. You all came out with a bang all the way through. I learned a lot. I thought I knew a lot, but I learned a lot tonight. So thank you. We had one of our barbers had an auto accident and he was out for 5 months. And his customers called me and they wanted to know, what am I going to do? Who am I going to talk to? One gentleman said he had been cutting his hair for 24 years. And he talked to me for almost an hour. And I told him, I said, now I understand why you're in the barbershop so much. Because
it's really therapy for them. Absolutely.
Yeah. Sacred space. It's sacred
space. It's so important.
Right. He said, I know his number, but I'm not going to bother him. He said, you told me not to, and I'm not going to bother him, but you're going to have to talk to me.
So you have to replace him until he gets back, right? So
yeah. Well, he's back now.
Let me just say to our guests, when we first met Miss, she all this computer, none of this. She has stepped up like nobody's business. Dorothy, tell our guests what it means to be a wellness warrior.
Wow, how much time do I have?
Not much. It's because I'm glad you asked that question.
I thank you for this opportunity as well. When I first started, I said, well, this will be 1 or 2 activities, but it grew on me. The people grew on me. You love everybody. All of us, we are really, truly a family. And we feed off of each other and we help each other. And what we don't know, we call Meg and Dr. T and Mayor Neal.
Now we got the Black Health Trust behind us now.
Yes,
we got people really, we have to research a lot of this stuff, but we go to them, and now we have that can help us out. Thanks. I got to go to ATL. I cannot not do that. I mean, that's sacrilegious. But thanks, Dorothy. Let's go to the ATL. Now we're gonna go into the busiest airport in the world, Atlanta Airport, where a brother owns a barbershop in the airport. I don't know if it's any place else that happens, but it is in Atlanta Airport, and his name is Andre Russell. Hey, Andre, you want to unmute first?
Okay, sorry about that.
No problem. Hey, Andre, how you doing, man?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
Wonderful.
All good. All good.
Yeah, you know, I love everybody. Usually I have my mic off anyway. I'm going through a little thing here. I tripped and fell and hurt my knees.
Wow.
And so I've been sort of bedridden for a while, and had a negative experience with these doctors. I was supposed to go to the place where they do whatever. They brought me home instead of taking me to this place where they work.
Skilled nursing facility or something.
Yeah.
And but then once you go home, you can't go back to the facility. So I spent another week so far trying to get somebody to redo the ticket in order to get into whatever the hell they call it.
Yeah, it's like a rehab. They're helping with his.
Rehab. That's exactly correct.
Yeah.
And so my wife is pissed, of course, because it's just her and I.
Right.
And but at any rate, I found out now that I need oxygen all the damn time. So my language is getting kind of harsh. So bear with me. I consider this to be an excellent opportunity that Mary Neal and Dr. T has presented to us. I've always been a community person, so I've always shared things with the community. And Dr. Barham was right. When I got my first colon exercise, I didn't give a shit what they said. It wasn't comfortable, but.
Beep.
I'm just saying.
That's a delayed beep, but at least we had a beep. But they say, "Hey, did y'all beep him? Yeah, we beeped him." Go ahead. We got 2 minutes. We got 2 minutes. Hurry up.
And I shared the experience. So everybody after me is having a great experience because I made it funny, made it light, and that's what you have to do to us heavy hitters is take away the pain, take away the scariness about it, right, and make it light and say we're gonna have a beer afterwards, and almost everybody goes for that. So that's it on that.
Yeah.
But,
well, let me say this, man. We love you, Andre Russell. That's what you need to understand, brother.
That's right.
And we pray for your speedy recovery.
Indeed.
You got that? Absolutely.
And follow the doctor's orders, Andre.
You know,
I know that's my cutoff.
No. We just got a minute left, you know, so it is not a cutoff. It's just a off.
Right.
We got a cutter already.
Andre,
Yes.
keep that oxygen on, follow those doctor's orders, and know that we are thinking about you, sending you positive energy. All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And I'm sending it right back to you guys.
Okay.
Absolutely. Love you,
And,
man.
All right.
Love you. Peace. All right. Dr. T, you see how,
Wow.
we only have a minute, 60 seconds in. It was forced upon me. I couldn't refuse it. I didn't seek it. I didn't choose it, but it's up to me to use it. Suffer if I abuse it. Give account if I lose it. Just a 60-second minute, but an eternity is wrapped up in it. That's what you call waxing eloquently, right?
On the cutting edge.
As we go on the cutting edge, that ends it for us. Thank you, Dr. Borum. Thank you, Dr. Cutter, for joining with us on the cutting edge. It's been a wonderful thing. To all of our wellness warriors, to Dr. Stephen B. Thomas, my sidekick, to all of our team behind the scene. Thank you for all you do to make this program a success. And to always, I'd like to leave you with these two words. Remember that I love you with a perfect love. But more importantly, remember this: you got the power. Until the next week on the cutting edge, we have a wonderful day. You hear?
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Health and wellness.